Question: why did you write your book?
Initially I wrote my book for my children because I got ill with cancer. And my good friend who's a director of a newspaper came to me and she said, you know what, Pepe, one of the most healing things is to write. So write what you feel, write what you're thinking. At that time I thought, I'm thinking I'm a single mum and I'm leaving my 2 children behind. So I actually started writing a book, or writing to my children, letting them know about their mum, because there was nobody else who could tell them about their mum as well as their mum could. And as I started writing it, as you can see, it's taken 2 years to write the book. I started getting a huge public interest in my affairs and things that I'd actually gone through. And then I started getting frequently asked questions. So I went back to the book, scrapped it from the way I was writing it, and I thought, right, okay, I will answer every question that the public have ever asked me in my book, and then put it out to the audience to see what the audience have to say.
In your book, you talk about being an ordinary girl from an ordinary family, maybe with a slight twist. What do you mean by that?
Well, people always say to me that I'm different, and I'm very different. I don't believe that I'm different. I believe that either you're born good or you're born naughty, and I suppose I was just born naughty, even from my school days, as I say in my book. So therefore I say a slight twist, because other than that I had an ordinary life. I believe I'd done things that children do. I believe that I'd done things that teenagers do. I believe I've still done things that a mother would do. I believe I've still done things that Pepe would have done.
You begin the book talking about your childhood. It must have damaged you from a young child to be called a witch and to have been sent away at such a young age.
Yeah, I suppose it did damage me. I didn't really think it had until, I sat back to actually write my book and thought, boy, actually, Pepe, it has affected you for every single thing that you've done, because it was the whole big rejection thing, and to be rejected at such a young age and not to actually know but to be called a witch. I suppose it's the same stigma as you get at school if you're being bullied. And like they say, sticks and stones will hurt my bones but names won't hurt my feelings. And I believe that you've become hardened to it, but subconsciously in your mind you do feel rejected and you're constantly wanting to be accepted.
What do you mean by a man-made culture?
Yes, I do write about it being a man-made culture because I believe it's what people have made. For example, like with the arranged marriage, and I talk about the arranged marriage and what happened when the marriage broke up, and they said it's cultural now to send you away. Well, no, it wasn't cultural to be sending me away. It was something that, people had made, all these stereotyping and preconceived ideas. I believe that that's a man-made culture. That isn't a culture which follows from religion. It is what people have made. And like in workplaces, you have a particular culture in the workplace, and again, that is man-made. And when we go back to institutionalized racism comes from a man-made culture.
You speak very early on about nature being very kind to you. Can you explain this?
Yes, I think the only thing that I've really had on my side, other than the fact that I've been told that I'm witty, but I think witty sometimes comes with nerves, and witty sometimes comes with bravery. You have that chance of you either make them laugh or you're going to get hurt, one way or another. And I suppose the luckiest thing for me was that as a young child I was always called cute, and sometimes I'd get myself in trouble, but they say, oh, it's alright, Pepe's cute. And then as I got older, as it was said to me once by Dave Courtney, that he can't believe that I've not been shot or killed. Well, I have been aimed at, shot and killed, but tried to be killed. And I do believe that it was because, I had the beauty. I was able to hide behind the beauty. Sometimes it became a shield for me. My beauty became a bravery thing for me because, people were there looking at the beauty, but inside I was able to have that time to become brave and then talk with confidence. And I suppose it's like when you're a teenager and you've got spots, inside you may be very beautiful and you want to say so much, but you can't because your whole complex and, the fact that you're feeling very insecure about the way you're looking is stopping you from being you. And I believe because I had that beauty, everybody was like, wow, which then allowed me to have the confidence inside to say, yeah, but look at me, this is inside of me.
Okay. What was your relationship like with your parents?
Well, as I said, from a very minor age, I was actually sent away from a very, very minor age. But from the time that I was actually brought back home, my relationship with my parents was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I absolutely adored my dad. I suppose my dad became my hero because he came to rescue me. He came to take me back from the family which they'd sent me to, even though there was nothing wrong with the family at all. But you know, he was this big man that had come to actually pick me up and take me back home. And then I followed him around everywhere. So for me, he was my mentor, he was my hero. And I talk about the 4 decades I've gone through in my book. And in those 4 decades, even though I've only spent the 2 decades with him and I haven't spent the other 2, but I've often turned to his wise words, which he said to me all the time that I followed him as a child. Regards to my mother, I mean, she was 5 foot nothing. She was like a little doll. But I loved her. I loved her to death. She was just so cute. Even when she was telling you off, you'd just sit there giggling. You know, I was often being told off by my mother. But because she was such a cute little thing, she was lovely. So, you know, even telling you off, as I said, you'd just laugh with her. She hated that though. But I love you, Mum.
Okay. What was your relationship like with your brothers and sisters?
I love them very much. And I'd say I love them very, very much now. I don't think many days have gone past in the time that I haven't actually been at home with my family for 20 odd years now, that I haven't actually thought about them. You know, I look at my own children, my daughter and my son, and I think to myself that, you know, they're like my brothers and sisters, because that's what they were like. That's the age they were when I left home. The age my children are now, or my little Richie is the age that they were when I left. And, you know, to me they were beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I mean, with me and my sister, there was only 10 months difference, and she was like my best friend. My sister was my best friend. You know, we were like twins. We did everything together. And my brothers, they were like in my army. They were my soldiers in my army. So we had a fantastic relationship, absolutely fantastic relationship.
You have some very strange names for some of your chapters in your book. Do you mind if I quote some of the chapters throughout this interview?
No, go ahead. I mean, in my book I talk about fairy tales and myths, and you say strange names to chapters, but they're actually not strange names. They mean something. I mean, like with fairy tales and myths, when you're growing up as a child, some things to you are fairy tales. You know, the villains and the monsters in these books are fairy tale books. You never actually think in real life that you're going to meet villains and monsters and devils and witches, but they are these characters are there in real life. And I believe that the people who have actually wrote these fairy tale stories were trying to give us hidden messages behind these fairy tale stories. Like we talk about the merry-go-round, you know, there was hidden messages in that as well. So even some of these nursery rhymes, there are hidden messages. And so the chapters in my book represent more than what I'm actually writing in the book. The codes are within the chapters. So yes, you know, they may be very weird ones, but they do make a lot of sense.